All right, we're going to have a little fun now, my friends, or we're going to cry because it has gotten so bad and embarrassing. You might remember what was previously known as Donald Trump's worst interview of all time, colloquially, and it was when Jonathan Swan from Axios interviewed Donald Trump, and Trump held up various things and said, but you can't do that about COVID, and it was a crazy interview. You might also remember the other contender for Trump's worst interview of all time when he was interviewed by Chris Wallace and told Chris Wallace that Chris Wallace wouldn't do that well on a dementia test, which was completely off the charts. We have a new interview for you today that I submit is a top contender for Trump's most embarrassing, pathetic interview of all time. This was a much promoted interview where the interviewer is none other than MyPillow CEO and founder Mike Lindell, who we sometimes know of colloquially as Mike Pillow. The backstory is that Trump and Pillow became friends sort of at the start of the pandemic when Pillow went to the White House and announced he'd be making masks and he'd be making different things instead of just pillows. And this has been a guy who has been one of the most off the deep end advocates of the big lie, making claims about the Supreme Court is going to reverse the election results. And Trump obviously won. And I've got routers and I've got packet captures and I've got a symposium or a symposium, as he would call it, all these different things. Cartoonish, up there with Sidney Powell. So Mike Pillow scores an interview with Donald Trump. For some reason we don't know, Trump is wearing a tuxedo. And it's like, it might just be they agreed to do this when Trump was at a fundraiser and just walked off stage wearing a tux and then was interviewed. We don't know. It just adds to the hilarity. And let's just jump right in. Here is Donald Trump continuing to push the big lie that he won in 2020. And he says, see if you pay attention carefully. You know how Trump does this thing where he says, sir, when he's lying?
I don't even know what I'm doing, sir.
Right. When Trump says, sir, they came to me, they said, sir, it's a tell that he's making up the story. There's another example of one of these tells. See if you can pick it out here.
We know what happened.
Right.
You see it in the reports. You see it in everything. And also, they're so guarding it, they don't want to give the votes. They don't want to give the ballots. Mail-in ballots are a disaster. They basically use COVID-19 or the China virus to rig the election, and it's a shame.
Yep.
And I hope the Republicans get tough.
So that was it. When Trump says, and it's a shame, it's another tell that he's saying something that's not true. The China virus, as he calls it, was not used to rig the election. And so when he says it's a shame, it's like when he says they came to me and they said, sir, he's lying.
Mitch McConnell's a disaster. The guy's a disaster, the old crow. He should have never approved that. He should have never allowed. And it was very sad when Mike Pence gave those votes over, because when you
Mike Pence didn't give any votes over. Mike Pence had nothing. Mike Pence couldn't give the election to Trump. It wasn't up to Pence who becomes the next president.
More votes than you have voters. When you have other things that are so wrong, and that was then. Now, since then, many other things have happened, which show that you were right and I was right, and people were right that were looking at it.
Right.
It's a very...
Yep. So there is a sort of self-congratulatory announcement from Donald Trump that he was right and Pillow was right. Then in the next moment, Donald Trump tells Mike Pillow, we don't have freedom of the press anymore in this country, and that will soon lead to communism.
We don't have freedom of the press anymore. And you're absolutely right. That's the first step toward communism.
So, listen, guys, if we didn't have freedom of the press, Mike Pillow would not have been allowed to do half the things he's been allowed to do on various media networks over the last 6 to 12 months. That's, if there's any proof that we have freedom of the press, it's Mike Lindell's media presence over the last 6 to 12 months. Trump then talks about, this is his sort of like pity me routine, where Trump mentions all the money he lost being president of the United States.
I expected to lose a lot of money.
Right.
I lost billions. I expected that. It was okay.
Right.
Yeah. Now, that appears to be a lie in a couple of different ways. It is true that during the course of Trump's presidency, his supposed personal net worth declined. But why is that? It's because Trump was lying about his net worth for a very, very long time. We discovered while Trump was president that he was less wealthy than he claimed to be. And indeed, he also dropped off the Forbes richest 400 list and all of this different stuff. But remember that Donald Trump made $1.6 billion during his presidency, an average of $400 million per year. And he wants us to believe that he did a great public service. He was willing to lose billions in order to be president of the United States. Trump, of course, no Trump interview now is complete. What has to be in any Trump interview? He refers to someone calling him sir. He tells a lie and says that it's a shame. He claims that he won the 2020 election, uses the term China virus, and of course, complains about being banned from social media.
How are you feeling then? I mean, was it like a disbelief, or was it
So I had hundreds of millions of people too.
Yeah.
We had a tremendous, whether it was Twitter or it was Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
I had, just massive numbers of people, and all of a sudden, one day you wake up and you don't have that voice anymore.
Yeah, he woke up and it was gone. It was just gone. He didn't have it anymore. Then this is maybe the most delusional part of the interview. Actually, no. MyPillow at the end of the interview is even worse than this, and we'll get to that. But this is maybe the most delusional part of the interview. Trump starts talking about specific states again. He talks about Arizona, and he's like, we need one big one and two smalls, or we might be able to do it with just two bigs. He's talking about the states he needs to win. It's almost December of 2021. This election was almost 13 months ago. He's still talking about the math that'll get him to a win in last year's election.
You've said let's fix 2020 first.
Well, I think it's important that they know what happened in 2020. And once you know what happened, they have a decision to make. Look, I think enough people know what happened. You look at Arizona, we don't need all those things. We need two big ones and three small ones, I guess. It's separately. You can have two big ones or you can have three small ones, something like that. But we know what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
You see it in the reports. You see it in everything. And also, they're guarding. They're so guarding it. They don't want to give the votes. They don't want to give the ballots. Mail-in ballots are a disaster. They basically use
Trump voted by mail, remember.
COVID-19 or the China virus to rig the election, and it's a shame.
Okay, so now we get into what we listened to before. So he's still talking micro. Like, listen, Pillow, if we get Georgia and Arizona and Pennsylvania, this thing is over. Sir, Joe Biden's been president for almost a year. What are you talking about? No. Two big states and three small ones, and we're right back in the White House, Mike. I'm telling you, insane. And then now let me get to maybe the craziest moment of the interview. Interviewer Mike Lindell from MyPillow is almost in tears over how great of a president Trump was. Now, remember, as idiotic and pathetic as we believe this to be, there are tons of Trump supporters that also tear up when they reminisce about the great presidency of Trump. Look at this.
It's the way God intended it, because everything that you did to show us what great leadership should be,
right,
and what it can manifest to help all people who are alive and to have a great life in this country, the best country in the world. And I want to thank you, as millions do, for being the greatest president we've ever had.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you so much.
It's really an honor. And the good news is we're going to look back at what they did, and we're going to say they did a terrible job. So they won't be able to talk.
Right.
Because the job they've done is record-setting bad. And we're going to take back our country.
Yes, we are.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, God bless you.
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Thank you.
God bless. God bless the United States. What a bizarre interview. And it's almost, you watch it and you're like, nothing could top the things Trump is saying while sitting strangely while wearing the tuxedo. And then Pillow's almost in tears over what he believes to have been the greatest president in the history of the United States. Saturday Night Live is out of business, folks. Saturday Night Live is out of business. One of our sponsors is Athletic Greens, which makes comprehensive daily nutrition really simple. People are busy. We're not always getting effective, balanced nutrition from the food we eat. We sometimes are combining all sorts of different vitamins, supplements, different things that may be relevant to us. AG1 by Athletic Greens is a delicious drink that just simplifies the entire thing. It's one product. You get all of the things you need, 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients. It's a multivitamin, it's a multi-mineral, it's a probiotic, green food blend in one daily serving, really easy, high quality, bioavailable ingredients can fill those nutritional gaps in your diet, and they can help with gut health and digestion and support you in other ways. And they can replace multiple products and pills that you might be taking. It's just one drink, really simple. I've been enjoying the AG1 drink by Athletic Greens. Tastes good, helps me get everything I'm trying to get. Athletic Greens is giving my audience a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase when you go to athleticgreens.com/Pacman. The link is in the podcast notes.